Good morning and welcome back to Radio Control. We are here for a major mixtape today, and our special guest in the studio today is Mr. Craig Black. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Mr. David Stevens.
I was thinking about your intro on the way here on my walk to morning.
Yes.
Walk to work this morning, yes. I should say. And I was going to say, I was going to start with local musician.
Yeah, I've played a bit of music in Palmerston North in my time. Yep.
I was then going to go to music enthusiast, especially with local music, but music enthusiast.
That's definitely true, yes, yes, very much so.
And I was going to finish with, because I don't want this to define you, and I'm sure you possibly agree.
3 is also a good number.
Yeah, manager at the stomach.
Oh, yes.
I was going to put that in there at last. I didn't want to say, this guy's the manager of the stomach.
Yes. No, I agree, because that is not something that should define me, even though I've been doing it since the dawn of time.
And and the music is the important bit in the end.
Even music is very much the most important bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've done the intro there, but do you want to tell us a little bit of the history, maybe even some history with this place, and your history around the music here in Palmy?
Ooh, okay. So I arrived in Palmerston North quite a long time ago. I think it was about 1990, and I pretended to be a student for a little while, and I kind of failed at that entirely. But I had joined a band, and I actually managed to join a band I was hitchhiking back from Massey into town one day, and a couple of dudes, all dressed in black, pulled over. Well, it sounds suspect.
Quite scary, actually.
Yeah. I was probably all dressed in black as well.
Yeah.
And I got in the car, we probably got talking, and probably within about 5 minutes, I was going to be in a band and going down to the stomach and going to be their singer.
Wow.
And it just happened.
Just from jumping in a car?
Just from jumping in a car, hitchhiking, and that was my very first band in Palmerston North all that time ago. So after hanging out at the stomach and doing, playing in bands, or a couple of bands and stuff, eventually I started working at Radio Massey, as it was back then, in about 93 or 94, I can't remember exactly what year it was, as the dude that made ads and stuff.
Right.
And I graduated up through, if you consider it an upwards curve, career-wise, through all the other jobs in the radio station, apart from sales, because I'm not a sales person, but many other people are adequate salespeople. So I was the program director, and I was the manager for a little while, because I was kind of only the temporary manager, but I'm quite bossy, so people just thought I was the manager anyway. And so I did all that kind of stuff. So I worked at the radio station off and on, and amongst a couple of trips overseas, and then all the whilst playing in a few different bands. And then at the start of 2000, which was actually, that's still a really, really long time ago now.
Yeah, it is now,
I started working at the stomach for the very first time, and I was the, junior sound engineer type dude.
Yeah. Wide-eyed, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Bushy-tailed, definitely bushy-tailed. My eyes were closed most of the time, I think. And then I kind of did that for a while, and then I left for a little while, and then the manager's job came up at the stomach, and then I returned from Wellington to Palmerston North, because the swamp always drags you back in. It was a triumphant return, actually. The stomach was not in a great way at that time, mostly because... actually, no, I can't say mostly why. I won't say mostly why, because I know where the bodies are buried, so... Things hadn't been going well, and lots of people had been doing recording, but kind of no one had been asking them to pay, and so the stomach had no money. And so I remember at my job interview for the manager's job that the people on the interview panel from the management committee, they shouldn't have done this, but they actually gave me this list, and they said, these are all the people that owe us money. None of them were huge amounts. It was just this really long list of people that owed the stomach small amounts of money.
For recording.
For recording, yeah. And so I was like, well, I know all these people. I'd just phone them up and ask them to pay. They probably would.
Yeah.
And so I assume that's why I got the job.
Debt collector.
Debt collector. And so that's actually basically what I did my first 6 months back in Palmerston North, when I started being the manager of the stomach in 2002, I think that was. I just phoned people and said, oh, look, hey, man, you did that recording and that's cool and stuff, but you kind of still owe us like $50. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, sweet. No one kind of hassled us for it, so we'll bring you the money.
Of course, because if no one hassles you, you don't.
Exactly, and so that's So we kind of, through a lot of hard work between myself and I think it was Hayden Sinclair at the time, we kind of hustled all this money that was owed and kind of got the Stomach back going again, and then we kind of moved into that refurbishing the Stomach kind of thing, all the while I was playing in a few different bands as well, and then we got the Stomach to where it is today in this kind of fabulously awesome new building.
Yeah.
You worked there for a while.
I did, yep.
That's pretty cool. And, I mean, it makes it, I guess, I worked at the radio for a really long time in the 90s off and on, and that was very formative. And I have worked at the Stomach for a really long time, which I guess also is very informative in my life.
Yeah.
But the just to sidetrack it a little, the songs I've chosen are actually kind of from the growing up part of my life, kind of to when I transitioned maybe into coming to Palmerston Northern the first time.
Right.
Because I sort of made a list. Am I hijacking the process here by blah blahing?
No.
So I sort of made a list of the songs, and then as I started making my list, of course, I thought of more songs.
Yeah.
And I just started writing down this blah, blah, and then I realized I probably had like 20 songs, and I believe the limit is 6.
6, yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if Dave will mind if I... No,
if I do 20. Yeah, I will.
I'll stick with it. And I actually ended up taking out all these songs that were all really important and had played a part in my life. And actually, I did just go back to the original 6 songs that I'd very first written down.
Right.
So I was kind of like, okay, if this is the process that I've gone through, and I've gone back to those first 6 songs, then clearly these 6 songs are from an important part of my life, and so you should just go with those 6 songs. And yeah, all those other songs I'd written down are definitely important as well. And there's so many so many songs tied to important parts of life, but I was like, sweet, these 6, because I guess one of the reasons why I've stayed involved in music is because if I don't do music, I go a bit nuts. It totally affects my mental health not doing my creative thing, which is music. And I think that for basically everybody, to a greater or lesser extent as per the individual, music makes a real difference to like the way you are mentally and emotionally, and forms a big part in your life, and you connect songs to the way you feel about stuff, and you break up and you listen to that song over and over again, and then you eventually get over your breakup or whatever. So
you can't listen to that song ever again.
You can't listen to that song ever again. So music, to me, music just is totally a key part of my life. Even though when I was growing up, there was we did have the radio in my house. We had the wireless that leaned against the wall, that was tuned to the racing channel, and that was all it was on.
Wouldn't really call that music appreciation, I guess.
It wasn't really music appreciation. So there wasn't any music in my young years growing up.
Yeah. But we've got it now.
Yeah.
And we'll crack into the first song, I think.
Ooh, okay.
So I tell a fact.
Ooh, tell a fact.
I'll tell the listeners. It's not really a fact. I'll tell the listeners the structure. I'll tell a fact. I'll say the song and tell a fact, and then you can tell the story behind why it's kind of important.
That sounds good.
So we're going to open today, and I'm glad you picked this one because I love it. I'm sure you'll get into the reasons why. But it's Beach Boys, God Only Knows, off their album Pet Sounds, which was released July 11th, 1966, before I was even a figment of anyone's imagination. The song is... here's my little fact. The song's told from a point of view... It's not a fact just yet. The song's told from a point of view of a man or woman contemplating life after death to his or her lover, as Tony Asher describes. Brian Wilson had said that he initially hated the opening line, which is I May Not Always Love You, as it was too negative for him. He eventually gave in after hearing the subsequent lyrics, because it's really not a negative song, but he thought opening with that, especially for the Beach Boys, I guess, it was a bit too negative. So what does this one have significance to you?
So, as I said, when I was a young tacker, so I'm kind of talking like maybe 10 or something like that, there wasn't any music in the house, but I have no idea where or what drove me to it, but I must have heard the Beach Boys somewhere, and the very first piece of music I ever bought was a Beach Boys double cassette, greatest hits.
Yeah.
Now, I possibly should have chosen like maybe Little Honda or Surfing Safari or I Get Around or one of those like super early cheesy pop. Because I'm such a sucker for a pop song.
Yeah, and as a kid especially.
And as a kid, yeah. But that was the first. So the Beach Boys double cassette was the first music I ever purchased, and I thrashed that cassette. And it was a time when like being into the Beach Boys was, even if you're 10, was not a popular thing at all. It would have been a very like punk new wave kind of time.
Yeah.
I guess, especially as a child, I really super loved the melodies and the harmonies, and also like all their pop songs. That thing about the first line being negative, all their pop songs are so positive and so up. But God only knows. I love this song because figure the lyrics are awesome. I love the lyrics, but I also have this other thing where, being a nerdy sound engineer, it's got these really great sounds in it, in the bass and in these high sleigh bells.
That's what I was going to mention. You use it to sound check PAs.
So I use it to sound check PAs because I know what's happening in the top end and know what's happening in the bottom end. Yeah. And also, it's just a super kick-ass song. Yeah,
it is. All right, well, let's kick into it. Here is Beach Boys with God Only Knows from Pet Sounds. Including the fade out, which is very important for songs of that time, I guess.
Man, I wish I could sing like that.
They all fade out. Yeah, I know,
they
right?
They all sing like something cool. It's freaky.
Yeah, it is freaky. All right, well, let's head on to our next track, which is a bit of Hooskadoo. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, Hooskadoo.
Hooskadoo. Not Husker.
Not Husker.
Yeah. And it's their track Don't Want to Know If You Are Lonely off Candy Apple Grey, which was April 16th, 2011, that album came out.
2011?
No, I've got that wrong?
Yeah. 1986.
Okay, I've probably, oh no, here's what I've done. I looked at the reissue from the record store day.
Yeah.
Definitely not 2011. Excuse me, so...
That's alright.
1986. 86. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
That's because, what shall I explain in my fact here?
Please do.
On Record Store Day 2011, so where I got that from, Warner Brothers Records released an exclusive limited edition print of Don't Want to Know If You're Lonely, split with the original version and a cover by Green Day, which I'm sure is horrible.
There ain't no Hooskadoo, that's for sure.
Exactly. The floor is yours.
Okay. I looked through my CD collection, which I'm totally getting rid of, but at this moment it just stacked on piles on the floor.
Yeah.
To see if I had this record. I don't actually have this record, which I should do because it's quite formative for me, really important. So I went to iTunes and looked in iTunes store to buy it, and of course couldn't, because you can get the other Hooskadoo records, but you can't get this one. And because that kind of thing irritates the living out of me, I went to my Americans, because I have an American iTunes account as well to get around all this.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And
clever.
What do you know? There it is in the Americans iTunes store. So I bought that album, of course, because it was like $9 American, so it's like 50 cents New Zealand nowadays. So that's that story. So iTunes, but don't be dicks about it. Anyway, so so this came out when I was like 14 or 15. Probably not that educated musically. One of my brothers, I think actually the only one that's kind of like a person, he was living at home, probably waiting for his turn to get thrown out of the house, as happened regularly in my place.
Sure.
He was living at home, and he, back in the time of cassettes, it was Christmas, and he went, I think actually what had happened is he'd bought the tape for himself, decided he didn't want it, needed a Christmas present, and so he gave it to me.
Yeah.
And he was like, here, check out this record, I think you'll be into it, it's good.
Did he mean that, or did he just say it because it was his...
No, I think he probably thought it would be good for me. Because actually, it didn't happen that often, but sometimes when my brothers were allowed to live at home, I would go through their record collections. I did actually like pick up quite a few kind of cool punk stuff in the early 80s and stuff. But this was a bit later on, so came out in 86. And it was Hooskadoo's first major label record.
Right.
And so the reason it's important to me is, my brother gave it to me. I think it's probably the only music that anyone in my family has ever given to me.
Yeah.
Also, it's just a super, super amazing record. These guys, again, like kings of melody, the songwriting's incredible, but these guys were American punks from like the late 70s, early 80s. So their previous records, while they kind of were melodic, were really, really super full-on punk rock records. And this one was kind of a little bit more acceptable, I guess, to the major labels. I just, when I got this tape and I started listening to it, I just thrashed it over and over and over and over again. And nowadays I could probably sing along to the whole thing. And I think when you listen to it, because we're talking about 86, I reckon these guys are kind of like a prototype emo band. Not emo in the My Chemical Romance sense of the word, but an actual emo band when it meant it was a proper genre from back in the day.
Yeah, when it was okay to listen to that.
Yeah. So it's important to me because my brother gave it to me, and the songs are just totally kick ass.
Cool. All right, let's kick into Who's Skidoo. Don't want to know if you are lonely. Doesn't want to know.
He doesn't want to know. Thank you, Donald Black, for introducing me to Who's Skidoo. You did me a great favour back then.
Shout out. I'm sure he's listening.
He probably is. Why not?
Why not?
He could be.
Next up, some Sisters of Mercy. Their track Ellis off Ellis EP, March 83.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Here's my little fact. Ellis was recorded after 1 week of pre-production at Andrew Eldritch's flat in Leeds. 4 tracks were recorded over 2 weekends with producer John Ashton of the Psychedelic Furs at Kenny Giles' studio in Bridlington.
Ah, Bridlington. I remember it well.
So there you go.
There you go. Okay, so obviously, you grow up a bit and you go through your phases as you do, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean we all go through phases. We're still going through phases, and so by the time I'd kind of gotten later on into high school, and I had not necessarily a more open-minded take on music, but I wasn't. Even though I loved pop music, I wasn't just listening to the top 10. I was more interested in other kind of, what do you call it nowadays? Alternative music. Do they still call it alternative music?
Yeah.
It's
a much revered term, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Alternative to what was being played on the radio. I guess. And so somewhere along the way, one of my friends must have gone, check out these guys. And of course, like I was a teenager and I was like, mopey and stuff because life sucked. The Sisters of Mercy were like a really well-known goth band, and it was the 80s where The Cure was still kind of a vaguely relevant goth band before they turned into more of a pop band. And it was just kind of like there was this whole image of, we're mopey and we're droning and stuff stink and stuff and like when you're a young person you identify with that. You go stuff is stink, I'm going to wear black, and I'm still dressed in black to this day. I mean I've been doing it for a real long time. So this is the Sisters of Mercy, who was like my teen, and I was a super goth when I was a teenager, man. I had teased up my hair and wore black and
nail polish
stuff. I didn't do nail polish, no makeup. I would have gotten the crap beaten out of me by everyone.
Rather than just someone.
Everyone. Certainly at home.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like about that part of my life, and so the Sisters of Mercy were man, I listened to so much of them, even though they didn't make that many records. And when they played in Auckland last year, I went and saw them, and it was awesome. Got drunk as a skunk and danced around to all the classics. It was great.
Yeah.
And my first ever band, those dudes who picked me up, hitchhiking from Massey way back in the day, that was The Flickering, and we covered the song Alice. We used to play it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
There
you go.
Yeah.
Quite a few connections there. Fantastic. All right, we'll kick into that. This is Sisters of Mercy with Ellis. You're on Control. All right.
Actually, I still bust out the Sisters of Mercy like if I'm doing vacuuming or the housework or something like that.
Yep. Oh, let's not get into that just yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Gotta
Gotta.
All right, we're going to take a bit of a sidestep now, which happens in everyone's musical journey. Next up, a little bit of Public Enemy. It's got 991 as a joke.
It's not
at all what it is. It's 911 as a
right.
joke. But I copied that straight off you, so.
Oh, well, yeah, you can't blame me, dude. You've seen my typing.
Off Fear of a Black Planet, March 22nd, 1990. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it does.
Couple of little facts about this one. In the 90s sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which we all know, I'm sure, character Carlton Banks says to Will that he'd borrowed his Public Enemy tape when he went running and starts singing the line, get up, get down. 9/11 is a joke in your town. To which I think Jazz then says, I used to like that song. Which sounds great. And also, this shocked, and I haven't listened to it yet. Duran Duran covered it.
No way.
Yeah, yes
Really?
way. Duran Duran covered this on their Thank You album.
I do not want to hear that.
No, just like I don't really want to hear Carlton Banks singing it.
I don't want to hear that. That's horrible.
Yeah, so what is this song to
Okay, so obviously I was a white kid growing up in white trash Hawke's Bay, basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had sort of slightly more outwardly focused ideas about music than a lot of people I knew. And this was a toss-up, this one, because I almost put down Boogie Down Productions' Bo Bo Bo, which is another super, super cool song that's on, what's it called? Ghetto, the Blueprint of something, I can't remember. Anyway, Boogie Down Productions. I almost put that down because they were kind of both very formative. But this one won out because, actually this goes back to Donald Black again. He must have been a good brother. I was
goes on.
I was sent to stay with him in Auckland for a little while, and I was listening to BFM in Auckland, and just like, yep, this song probably would have been fresh out at the time, and I probably would not have heard hardly any, if any, hip hop at all, and I heard this song and Public Enemy, and I was like, that's awesome. That music is incredible. What kind of music is that? And it seriously blew my mind. And of course they were probably smashing this on the radio quite often on BFM at the time. Yeah. And it just like, I was like, oh my God, look at this. Throw away your guitars. This is ridiculous, everybody. Pick up the microphone, let's make beats. And like, it just, you know, there's a bunch of guys talking about their day-to-day life, and again, you know, staying with my brother and just being in this situation to be exposed to other music. And so, yeah, and I mean, I didn't live in Auckland for very long. The place is horrible and completely pointless. But it did have that one good bit about it where I got to hear hip-hop for the first time. And, and I, not long after that, I came back to Palmerston North and started... that would have been when I started volunteering first came to Palmerston North, started volunteering at the radio station and stuff, and I was like, oh, I could play this song that I heard, and that was really, really cool. Yeah.
So your first taste of B-Net, I guess, came
my
along
first
with
taste of B-Net and my first taste of hip-hop, apart from what I might have... There used to be this really, really cool program on TV called Radio with Pictures, and they basically played alternative music videos, and back then... playing hip-hop on television and this kind of stuff would have just been like so outside the comfort zone for so many people, but it was how back then we got our connection to music that you weren't just hearing on the radio, the same song constantly split between the advertising. That's what those other radios are like.
Yes.
So yeah,
more power to them. We do our thing. Cool. All right. This is
yay hip hop. I do love a lot of hip hop. Yeah. But this is just a really good example in my
an introduction to that.
Yeah. Totally.
Cool. So this is Public Enemy. Not 991, but 911 is a joke.
Hit me.
Public Enemy there, 911 is a joke.
So, man, there's so much good hip-hop. I'm such a white guy on my list.
Yeah.
it's white guy rock and roll music, predominantly.
That's okay. That can represent your whole hip-hop.
That's not fair.
No, it has to, doesn't it?
Well, I get in this context only. It does. Yes.
Yeah. Next up, Codeine with their track Tom off the White Birch, November 1st, 1993. That was released. Codeine, American slowcore band is what they've been called. Formed in 89, released 2 full lengths, Frigid Stars in 1990 and The White Birch, which this track is off, in 94. They broke up later that year and did a short reunion in 2012. I don't know if...
That's true. Yes, they did just some American shows and a couple of large festivals. Like I don't know if it was Coachella, but they played a couple of large festivals sort of and they did their own. Yeah.
Were you jealous?
Tour. If I could possibly have gone, I would have, because like all these bands, Codeine left a gigantic, indelible mark on my music brain.
Yeah.
So I probably didn't hear this record until a couple of years after it had come out, but I'd sort of always a lot of people think that oh man, this is just sweeping generalizations, doesn't really mean anything. Feel free to text or write in if you disagree entirely. That there's like, for music to be powerful or intense, it has to be like fast or really full on or something like that.
Loud and fast.
Loud and fast, yeah. And so when you listen to Codeine, and when I listened to them for the first time, I was just like, holy expletive. These guys are playing really slowly, but that is the most intense and powerful thing I've ever heard. And just like it totally hit me like that. And I think actually I'd started working at the radio station, and this was probably a record that came in, and the guy who was the PD at the time, Tom, he said, "Oh man, you'll probably like this." And not only like it, but basically scratched it into my heart as some of the most important music I'd ever heard. Yeah. And of course then like a few years later, I was in my own slowcore band with Brian. Hey Brian, you might be out there listening. I know he works at Massey, sweetest dude in the world. Yeah. And we were in this cool band called Fader with Regan, who was the bass player from the Livids at the time. We were a totally slowcore band, and we weren't really copying Codeine as such, but they were like an important blueprint for where we were coming from, and certainly in terms of tempo and stuff. So slowcore, not necessarily a term that I think they got into, but it was certainly kind of how they got lumped to, and it's kind of good way. And we called ourselves a slowcore band. It's kind of a good way of describing that. It's this really down tempo music, but it's still really intense and really, really powerful. Yeah, I guess it's kind of transformed into the post rock, post metal type thing now. I guess a little bit. Yeah. Do you think there's still slowcore bands around? I guess. Can you name any that we might know? In some ways, This Will Destroy You are kind of a slowcore band, but I guess they're generally called post rock bands now. Yeah, seems to be they're all lumped into that now. Yeah. To a certain extent, I guess Jacob and HDU also kind of had that sort of like, you could be down tempo, but you can still be really, really very fully intense. And powerful. Yeah. I'm going to play you a new Mountain Eater song soon. But, we'll get into this one first and stay on task. Yes, if we should. This is Codeine with their track Tom. Codeine there with Tom. Man, I love that song. That's a great song. That's a great song. That's one I hadn't heard. I like it. You should get that record. It's a good record. We're going to go into the, correct me if I'm wrong, only New Zealand track on here. Oh, yes. Yeah. When I did my extended list, I ended up throwing in quite a few other classic New Zealand songs, but as I said, I had to pare it back, and I just went with... Yeah. Because there's another big resonance in this one for me, so... Yeah. All right, also so it is Belter Space. Belter Space, yep. The song is called X. It's off the BEIP, which is an EP. I don't know. What is it? Do you know what that stands for? No, I don't think anyone does. Okay, right. All I could get was it was released in '93. Yeah. No closer date than that. Yeah. And because this is basically because it's an old New Zealand album or song or band or whatever, is the information on the internet is not quite as
as much as the likes of Public Enemy, but there you go. But Belter Space is an atmospheric noise rock band, they've been called. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they're very sonic.
Yeah, from Christchurch, formed in '87 as Nelsh Beta Space.
Yeah.
And recorded as the Gordons as well.
Well, actually, no, the three people who are Belter Space, they had in their first band was basically the Gordons, who were a really full-on sonic kind of band. Like not really punk, but kind of like a proto-punk band in the early 80s, and then they kind of did other stuff, and then other people joined the band, then they were Belter Space, and then the three kind of OG guys came back together, and they were Belter Space, and they always
kept it real,
really sonic.
Yeah.
Should I tell my story?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
go for it.
Sweet. So, in reverse history, Belter Space actually played at Laneway earlier this year, because two of them still live in New York, and one of them, he was in America for quite a while, but now he runs a cafe in Newtown in Wellington.
Cool.
Bass player, John Halvorsen. I think, actually, they've got some new music out, if people want to track it down.
Yep.
It's out there. So they like, in a way, they're kind of like they have, to me, a lineage. Even though it's passed through some really sonic, full-on noise kind of stuff, they have a lineage to me back to the Beach Boys. Because if you kind of pay attention, there is kind of like a sort of a harmony and melody thing going on, but. If you're Belter Space, you're way more likely to stay just wailing on one chord for the entire song.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. So this song is like my favourite song of Belter Space, and they played at orientation back when I was this is sort of mid-90s kind of thing, and I just remember, probably I'd had a few drinks, no doubt, but I just remember that by the time they'd finished playing, I was like sitting down on the floor, just totally annihilated by the sonic assault of what they were doing, because they were such a sonic band. And there's also a big lineage of American sonic bands who will trace their roots back to what the Gordons were doing in the early 80s kind of thing. So the story that actually, I quite often tell this story because the song is important to me, but I went to a big day out back when it was good, not like the crap that it is now. And this was when the Big Top was still rock and roll stages, and they had two stages side by side, and I was going to see Belter Space, and they were about to play my favourite song, which is the song X coming up, and then it was like the stage manager was like, no, your time's up, mate, it's over, you're done. And the guitar player, who clearly is living in a world of his own, he was like, well, come on, man, we just want to play one more song. And the stage manager was, nah, it's time's up, get off stage. And he just stayed on stage playing the riff until the rest of the band came out, and they smashed this song, and I loved it.
All right, well, let's smash into it ourselves. This is X by Beta Space, and we can all Belter Space, excuse me. We can all relive that moment along with Craig, who was just reliving it then. Totally. Here it is. And that will wrap up a major mixtape for today. Thank you very much, Craig, for taking us on that musical journey.
Thank you, Dave. That was awesome. That was super awesome fun to kind of go back and talk about a bunch of songs that did and still do mean heaps to me. Yeah. And thanks also to the people who've been texting in. That's really, really nice. That's awesome.
June and Mads and Tom all in fine support of your tunes, which is great. And
thanks to them for listening, I think, is probably more important.
Yeah, thank you very much.
With no listeners, what's the point? Ow.
Exactly.
So yeah, and they made themselves known. Choice.
Very choice. We don't know who's going to be next week yet, so I can't tell you. But
is it me?
You want to know?
I've got a lot of songs. Yeah. I've got a lot of songs.
We might do part 2 at some point. Yeah, we won't do it straight away.
No, because that was kind of like the first 20-something years.
Yeah.
So like we could move on to. Let's face it, the next 20 years. Anyway.
No, part 2.
Part 2. At some stage, I wouldn't mind doing a part 2, actually.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. And you can't go further back than 93.
Yeah, no, I'd have to come forward. Yeah. That'd be interesting.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for next week's Major Mixtape. Same time, same bat channel. who knows?
Awesome!
I don't even know who it's going to be yet, but we've got plenty of people in mind. Harrison's also supporting us. Thanks, Harrison.
Thank you, Harrison.
Loving the support. And that wraps us up. Thank you, Craig.
I'm Craig Blake, the manager of The Stomach, and when I'm at Radio Control, I listen to Radio Control.